everybody, it's Callie Ray. I am out here in the high desert of Idaho, going somewhere I've never been, to meet people I've never met. I'm going out to cover some patients out here in the Tules. And it reminded me as I'm driving around that this is what I'm going to be launching into this year. We have both, this year is the 50 and 50, and if you are not familiar with what that is, we've been planning it for quite a while. It's kind of evolved, but we are traveling to all 50 states this year to celebrate our 50 years. Both my husband and I turned 50 this year. And so it's pretty significant, and it's kind of evolved, as you can imagine. It started out being kind of a bucket list thing, and really something I wasn't able to do for a number of reasons. You can imagine the barriers, of course, time and having the financial freedom from work to take off and travel like that. Not everyone has. But the bigger barrier for me was that when I would travel, I would always get sick. And I love to travel, and so that was really frustrating for me. I would go, to a conference or on a family vacation, and quite often I would end up in urgent care to get medications because I had an infection. And what would happen is, when you travel, you are in a whole different germ pool, and you tend to be kind of worn down. You tend to not sleep as well in different places, and not eat as well because you're, eating in restaurants or as you travel through airports, and just it's not. You're out of your routine, and generally pretty tired, because at least for me, I like to see it all and do it all, and so I push harder and don't maintain a very good personal schedule and just self-care. And so what would happen, like I said, I would end up sick, and even if I managed to push through the trip, and if it was a shorter trip, I might not have anything necessarily come up then, but when I get home, I would always hit the wall, and I would be down for anywhere from a few days to a few months, and it would just take, depending on how long, and it really took a toll on me. And so it wasn't until I managed to, what I call my transformation, being able to go from surviving to thriving with the autoimmune, that in the last probably 3 to 4 years, I've been able to travel and keep a pretty rigorous schedule and not have any secondary effects from that. And so that's when the 50 and 50 really started to become a reality to me, and kind of a symbol of that freedom, a symbol of the fact that I have the health freedom to be able to do that again and not have any debilitating or effects from the travel. And so then when I wrote my book, 8 Lessons Lupus Taught Me from Surviving to Thriving with Autoimmune, that kind of led into this whole new journey that happened in 2018. And that was, the book doesn't help anyone. The whole point of writing it was to be able to show a better way, and that you can thrive with autoimmune, and that it doesn't have to be medications and therapies and treatments and misery and suffering, which is what I had known it to be. And that there's hope and there's joy, and I wanted people to be able to have that. And so that's why I wrote the book. Well, people can't know that if they don't know about the book. And so I started doing community health lectures, presentations called Change Your Story. And Change Your Story helps people understand how to get from surviving to thriving, and the tools and the science behind our bodies and our minds and our spirits, and what I had learned. So it takes those lessons from the book, and it puts it in, it applies it to you so that you can apply it and be able to change your story. And then as I as I got through that, I realized, and a lot of people were asking me, well, what do you do? Or, how do you do this or that? And so I put together the Living Wow lifestyle program, which is the result of the transformation and the lessons. It's the actual application on a daily basis. And so that Living Wow is now kind of that capstone of the Living Wow is the 50 and 50. And so the reason that as I'm thinking about this, and I'm thinking how far I've come, and it's been a rough few months. I've really been hit hard. The end of 2018 and the beginning of 2019 had some challenges, and it was just one thing after another, from my mom's death and just that sheer exhaustion in dealing with her final weeks and laying her to rest and all that, and then changes in our family, and we've had a lot of loss and a lot of trauma and a lot of change in 3 months, and those are things, just like travel, the stress that it puts on our body. I was in that, and I found myself, it's been 4 or 5 years since I've had a significant flare, and I found myself in one just about 6 weeks ago probably, and I've really been struggling, and that humbled me, and it reminded me that this is what surviving feels like, and it sucks. And it was bad, and so I'm super excited. I feel that joy again, because I've been able, it didn't take me the months that it's taken me in the past, and what was the hardest part was for me to do what I know I need to do, and what I teach, right? Practice what you preach. And when I started doing that again, I'm back to thriving, and so excited about the 50 and 50 and scheduling those. So because when we first started talking about this, it was just this dream to go to all 50 states the year we turned 50, but now it's turned into kind of a book tour. It's turned into a presentation tour. So coming to spread this message across the United States, to inspire healthy living, to empower people with Living Wow, and to help people change their story. And so throughout our trips, and we have a series of them, obviously we're not doing it all at once, but throughout the different legs of our travel, we are doing, I'm going to do some book tours. I'm going to do some book signings and the Change Your Story presentation. So the first one coming up is in May, the first weekend in May, which is actually my birthday weekend. I'm going to be up in the Portland area on May 2nd, and then up in the Bellevue and Lake Tapps, Tacoma-ish area on May 3rd. And then May 4th, we're looking for someone to host in Eastern Washington. Then we've got Wyoming and Colorado, New Mexico, and Phoenix area that we're looking at for probably this time next spring, so in April of 2020, and that will probably be the wrapping up. So between May and well, actually I guess we'll wrap up in June of 2020, right before my husband's as we're wrapping up our 50th year. So we've also got let's see, Bozeman, Montana, probably end of July, I'm thinking, like the third week or so in July, and then Austin, Texas down in October. So we've got some requests and some dates that we're scheduling, and so I wanted to put that out there and let you know that we're putting this together. And what we don't have yet are people that have reached out from either the Midwest, Northern Midwest, and Northeast states. So I would love to do a handful of book signings as we go across that northern United States, probably in the 2nd and 3rd weeks of July, and then probably be down in the southeast in April, May. I'm not sure exactly. It's going to depend on those people, and when, like I said, we'll be down in Austin in October, so we might put it on the front end of that. But if you are a person who is in either of those areas, the Northeast especially, and the northern, the flyover states, right? I don't want to fly over them. I want to come through them. I want to meet you. I want to see your beautiful country. Right now I'm in the part of Idaho that I think is really, it's the high desert, and I love trees and mountains. And so the sagebrush and the rocks don't do it for me, but it's still beautiful out here. We've got some snow tips up on the foothills, and we've got the beautiful river, and it's just its own kind of beauty. And each of the states I know has that. And the best part is are the people. And so I want to come through, and I want to meet you and support your community. So if you have a group of a business or a community or a church, whatever your tribe is, that that you would like to have that empowerment of how do we thrive, how do we move from the standard American lifestyle and into a wow lifestyle, how do we thrive? That's the message. And the feedback when I do the presentation, it's so heart filling for me, because I really feel like I now have a totally different take on my autoimmune diseases. Instead of resenting and hating my body and feeling very betrayed and angry at it for attacking itself, I really embrace it, and I love the fact that my body gives me a warning signal when I'm out of balance, when I'm not taking care of myself, when I'm off. I get to know early enough that I can reverse it and get back on track much easier. And so I really feel like I've been called to share this message with other people who are just surviving. I get it. I know what that feels like, and it sucks. There's just no other way to say it. It's my potty mouth comes out when I'm sick, because it is awful. I hate it. So the whole point is, I want to be a resource for you, and I'm really excited to take this across the country. And if you are, or if you know of someone who lives in those areas who wants to know, how can I get better nutrition? How can I, and sometimes it's not even, sometimes it's that we don't know, and sometimes it's that we don't, we know, but we don't have the tools to implement it, to make it work. And like I said, that's what happened to me in the last 6 weeks, is I know, and I know what to do. I just couldn't make myself do it. And so I'd like to be that person that helps support you and remind you that you're not alone, and that you've got this. You can totally do it. And so with that, I'm getting into town now, getting out of the desert and the places where I can reflect and think, and I got to pay attention and drive. So there'll be more to come, but I wanted to put this up and get this out just as it was on my mind and thinking, to enlist you in and have you join me on our 50 and 50. We will vlog about it and blog and all the different things that we're doing, because social is how we connect with people and get that message of joy and peace and thriving out to the masses. So until next time, take care and shine on.